Hello, I'm Scotty. Thanks for visiting my channel. I will teach you how to repair mechanical clocks. Having removed most of the wheels out, I can now see exactly what's happening in here. That's the minute arbor on there. And that's the maintenance cam, so they're in position. But because of the size of this wheel here, we're going to have to put all these wheels in individually, one at a time. Because that wheel there sits underneath the next couple of wheels that go in. So the new ones will sit on top of that. And I would say there's a very good chance I'm going to have to load them one at a time. That'll be the only way to get them in, I would say. Alright, well, I'll get the configuration sorted and then we'll put the parts through the ultrasonic cleaner. Well, the front and back plate are ready to go into the ultrasonic cleaner. First up, using my little tea strainer, I'll put the 4 brass nuts in, tighten them down. They're ready to go in. With the back cock, I'll take this rather butchered tapered pin out, which naturally will be pushed in incredibly strongly. So much so that it bent over. That's got him. And there's the top piece of what used to be the suspension spring. Alright, that can go in. We've got those now. So what I'll do now is I'll cut up some pieces of wire so we can put all our train together in each side. Time side, bend a piece of wire. I'll put these parts in, get them tied up so they all stay together. That last one was the escape wheel. Cut a bit of the excess off because we don't need all that amount of wire floating around. Right, that's one. Now, another piece of wire. Well, should be heaps, because a few of these parts are plastic, so they don't go into the ultrasonic cleaner. It'll damage them. So we haven't got a lot of parts that are going in at the moment. Warning wheel. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. And the fly, I don't think, no, we'll put that in a tea strainer. That'll save that from dropping out of the basket into the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner, where we'll have to rummage round to find it. Alright, we'll put the fly in there. It's decent size, big enough to hold it. Tighten that down. There's all our parts. We've got the basket from the ultrasonic now. So we'll put the parts in. Top plate down low enough so it sits under the level. The back plate, time side wheels, the fly, the nuts, make sure that's tight so it doesn't come off, and the stroke side wheels, and last but not least, the back cock. Alright, I'll put them into the ultrasonic for 5 minutes at 30 degrees. Once that's done, I'll take them outside and I'll clean them up and I'll bring them back, then we can see what they look like. Right, the parts come back from the ultrasonic cleaner and they've come up pretty well actually. That's the back cock. These are the strike side wheels. They look pretty good actually. In between the leaves and the pinions is pretty clean. star wheel. Doesn't seem to be any rust on that. Warning wheel. Okay. I'll cut those open in a minute and put them on our foam block. There's our fly. Looking pretty fly, as it were. There, the nuts are cleaned up nicely. I'm really surprised how well everything's come up, because it's lesser quality brass, and you can tell that by how thick all the pieces are in it. The wheels are very thick. But that's rather nice, actually. Put that aside, have a look at the back plate. Turn it over. Yeah, very few marks on that. And these are the going side train wheels. They have come up nicely. Scope wheel, I'll check between the leaves and the pinion there. Run up it with a piece of pegwood. No, they look pretty good actually. Another pinion there. No, that's not making any difference there. They're pretty clean. All right. Now put them into our foam block, and then we'll start removing some of the rust from some of these parts. All right, let's start removing some rust from some of these parts. Undo that screw there. Slides off. Now we can see what we've got to deal with. I'll actually run over these couple of posts here. That sort of looks better, I think. Yes. All right, now some 4/0 steel wool. We'll rub backwards and forwards, not too strongly, because these pieces have been blued. We don't want to remove the blue. We just want to get the obvious rust off them. Over to the other side. Backwards and forwards, rubbing it. It's coming off, all right. Now down to there. And that is looking way better than it was when it came out. Now, you may remember from another one of my videos, when you're using steel wool to remove rust on clock parts, there's one more component that you need, and that is a little bit of oily rag. There's a tiny little bit of oil on that. I think this has got clock oil on it, but you don't need that. It's not lubricating a working part, and this is what it's used for. Very lightly running across the top where you put the steel wool, and it gives it just a very, very thin coating of oil. And I'll do the other half. It doesn't have to be clock oil. You can use any light oil, any household oil, sewing machine oil, something like that, because it's not a working part as such. Right, so we'll run over this with some steel wool. Luckily that's not too bad, because it's all angles and bends and everything, which isn't going to be easy to get into clean. But it's actually not too bad. The bluing's obviously working on it. Well, pretty much so. Alright, let's have a... I can see a tiny little bit more rust there, not very much, but I'll run over it with my 4/0 steel wool. Seems to be coming up alright, and all the bends and twists and curves in it, in that piece, didn't seem to affect it very much. I've been able to clean it up quite nicely. Yeah, that seems to be alright. Okay, where's our little bit of oily rag? And Draw it over the top, over every part that you've put steel wool on, and over the back there, and that, so back in there, we'll keep that in pretty good condition for some time. That's a handy little hint for you whenever you're removing rust from steel parts on clock movements. Slide that back on, tighten the screw, doesn't matter where it is as long as it's tight enough for the pieces to stay together, so we know how the configuration was. Now here's a horrible piece. It's going to need a bit of cleaning. That's a cup bell support. Alright, I'll run over that and we'll see if we can get the majority of this light coating of rust off. And down there, not very much of it, but the little bit that it is very obvious because it's on a piece of blued steel, and the orangey colour rust stands out pretty well against the bluing. Down the sides, have a look and see. Yes, that's come up pretty well actually. Cleaning it up down the side made a little bit of a difference, but you couldn't see very much rust on that, but there was some there. Alright, a little piece of oily rag again. Quick wipe on both sides, and up the top there we'll spin that round. And you can see, take that bit of fluff off it, it's in much better condition than when we took it off the clock movement. Little bit of rust on the great wheels, on the ratchet part of the great wheels for both trains, so I'll look at those offline. You don't need to see how that's done simply because you've seen how the rest is done, and it'll be done in the same manner.